Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Huge news today, chief among which being Scump revealing he was planning to retire after the Vanguard season, but didn't after Shotzzy told him that he was going to leave OpTic, presumably to go and join FaZe, if Scump decided to call it a day. This raises many interesting questions, especially because was Shotzzy the chief architect behind trying to drop Dashy and iLLeY, and after this season, is that what's going to actually happen again? Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Loads to dive into today. Firstly, we've got to talk about this. The LA Thieves versus London Royal Ravens tiebreaker match which went on yesterday. The CDL, I guess, were too busy trying to set up the Challengers broadcast to make that work, because they didn't broadcast this game, which, okay, that's bad enough in the first place. So then, obviously, you know, the teams tried to do their own work on it, and LA Thieves turned this live stream onto their TikTok, and, you know, I don't believe they were allowed to show the gameplay, and some of you guys were telling me that this was shut down because, obviously, you know, the Twitch deal, if there even is a deal there, that has exclusivity such that maybe the COD League broadcast aren't allowed to be shown on other platforms. I don't know. But, you know, Josh, who was doing this with 100 Thieves, he wasn't even showing the gameplay. He was merely just showing the players sitting there and giving some live updates as to how they were getting on during the game. So map 1 here, right, Mikado, hardpoint that they were playing, and then about halfway through this game, they then got told, yeah, you can't stream it anymore. The referee came up, and for an inexplicable reason, which we still don't know, he just, I mean, this is Benjay Nassim stream here, where the bottom right-hand side, they're showing the TikTok broadcast, and the referee comes over to 100 Thieves Josh and says, yeah, you can't stream this. And it's like, well, hang on, why? Like, first of all, I'm not even showing that the match play itself. The CDL refused to stream it. So, you know, and even when the teams try and do it, they can't do it either. So then he has to come on the camera and say, well, they're telling me I've got to shut it down. I'll try and make something work for you guys. But, yeah, that's it, right? A pretty important series as well, because it determined the groups for the major. Now, maybe they wanted to shut this down just because the tiebreaker match we had last year was a bit of a farce, right? Because it seems like, even maybe it wasn't, but it seemed like the teams were kind of trying to throw the game a little bit to avoid OpTic or whatever. So maybe they didn't want a similar situation again, but even as Moro goes on to say, CDL not streaming our match and also not allowing us to stream it to our fans, we're, you know, not even showing the player screens. Pretty comical stuff. Sorry to the fans who wanted support from the team, we'll find another way to do it. And then Moro started tweeting out, you know, 250 to 117, then 101 he reckons. So I don't exactly know what the final number was of this map, to be honest. And then this is hilarious, and shout out to Josh and the guys that put this together, but he turned on a Twitter space and was basically giving live updates over the radio, which is basically what it was, and there was a load of people in it. I joined in here for a few minutes as well, so you know, entertaining stuff. But it's pretty funny to me how the fans of the teams have to work around the league to actually make this work. I don't know why it wasn't streamed, we don't have an explanation as to why not, and look, fair play, they did stream all of the Challenger stuff to great effect last night, but you know, there's got to be some way to do it, even if it's not the official broadcast, have a secondary channel, just chuck it on there, like it would be so easy to accomplish, but yet they didn't do it, and they shut down people even trying to. So in the end, 250 to 101, 6-2 in the Surge, and then 3-2 in the Control. So this is already an interesting result, right? Because, look, London looked pretty good online, but last year it was the same case when London were good online and terrible on LAN, at least relatively to their online performance, and Thieves the other way around. They've always been so good on LAN, and this is an impressive result against London to 3-0 them this quickly on LAN and put London into the more difficult group. We have some stats for this, and the frustrating thing it wasn't streamed is because apparently Octane got a collateral headshot. When I saw this, I thought, oh, he's just messing around, right? He's just saying that he got this collat headshot because, you know, because it wasn't broadcast, he can say what he likes. But apparently he actually did, and even Nasty replied, saying, I'm getting collatted again. I'm haunted by these collats as a scene, because it was the same thing that happened to London from iLLeY when they played them a few days ago. We have some stats for this as well. Unfortunately, game 1, there was just no stats. I guess this should be 101, but there's just no stats for this. Game 2, Search, Octane was 11-3. This is, you know, the stats that we do have, and then the Control stats look like this, but it probably would be more in favour the overall stats of Thieves if that game 1, if we actually knew what happened in game 1, but whatever. Thieves won it 3-0, pretty comfortable for them, and even Chrome was like, well, surely they recorded this match so they can put it up on the YouTube channel afterwards, but apparently it was not recorded, so that's all we're going to get from LA Thieves versus London, but that meant that these were the groups going into the weekends, with Ravens in Group C, a harder group theoretically with FaZe and Surge, and Thieves in Group D with Boston and Vegas. Obviously, it's the first event of the year, anything can happen, but probably Thieves will prefer to be in Group D than in Group C, theoretically, because you probably don't want to be in the group with FaZe if you can avoid it. Now, as we saw there, of course, still 4 challenger teams into each of the 4 pools had to be determined, one of which is going to play Scrappy, and as Scrappy says, feels so bad for the AM team I played Thursday, they are so screwed. And here we go then, determining whose AM teams are actually going to go through. LAG Academy, one of the teams to qualify. Rokkr Academy found themselves in the qualification match. No idea how it like seed 1 this gunfight, to be honest. But in the end, Guerrillas win this series. aLLeY Academy, one of the favourites. And then this was like a crucial tiebreaker here for the final spot here in the group stages. This is 4-4, game 5, and Yakko comes flying out the window, like just dolphin dive, belly flops out the window, and just absolutely guns GodRx. This is just unbelievable. GodRx gets 1 kill on Journey, and Yakko's like, you know what, I'm ego challenge this. I mean, what a ridiculous gunfight win that was. So that was big as well. They won this round. They went on to win the series as well, and the Spanish guys qualify. I mentioned them yesterday because I thought they had a decent chance of doing it. Elevate was the first team to qualify from the European Challenger side. Decimate Gaming as well, congratulations to them. It was pretty close to the Australian guys EXM qualifying, but Decimate Gaming, that's Parasite's Challengers team, after clutching up a game 5 against the Awoba Bobs, took down the Australian guys 3-0, and they qualified as well. So Haggie's team is in, pretty cool, with 2 Real and Co. Elevate as well, that's Jay Gizmo, Harry, and those guys, Vortex, Denza. aLLeY Academy beat Rokkr Academy, and then in that crazy game 5, the Spanish guys take down Rokkr Academy to qualify. So 2 NA, 2 EU, kind of what I expected, to be honest. And here are the full rosters. So based on who qualified in the first seed from each respective group, they then got slotted into the groups, and some teams got harder groups than others, but exciting matches all across the board nonetheless, and some great storylines here. So out of those 8 teams, these are what happens. And even Scrappy says, I thought it was hilarious, Vamos, right? Because, you know, Vamos, the Spanish guys qualified, but that means they play Ultra first. And Scrappy's basically saying, Vamos, this is going to be an easy match for us. So we'll see if it actually works out like that tonight. But they slot into this pretty tricky group now with Toronto, the Spanish guys, who are definitely a solid team, with OpTic, and then Florida on the other side of things. So these are the matches that are coming up today. But before we get into the matches for today, we've got to dive into this Scump situation. So last night they do a new video on the OpTic channel, the final year, about 20 minutes or so, discussing Scump's career. And one of the very interesting things he says was that he was pretty committed to retiring after this past season. He'd had enough. He'd won the event at Major 1. He was like, you know what, bad season for me in Vanguard. I'm going to call it a day. Went to Hawaii, pretty convinced that he was going to retire.
How did the conversation with your teammates go when you told them that you were going to retire?
I don't even think I did tell him. Did I tell him?
I have no idea.
I don't even think. Well, I was.
They found out when everybody else found out?
Well, nah, because we had the whole rosters ordeal in the off season, and I was telling Ray and Ant when Ant was thinking about potentially leaving. I don't know if people know that, but when he was thinking about potentially leaving the team, he told me, he was like, "If you stay, I'll stay." And I already was gonna retire, and I told that to a lot of people. But
you were gambling there. You told Zinni. You told, like, you were just telling.
Well, I told everyone because I thought that in my mind, like, I was done. And then, I don't know, Ant said that. I had my trip to Hawaii. I kind of rethought everything. And then he said that he was thinking about potentially leaving. He had offers from other teams. And he was like, if you retire, I leave. And I was like pleading with them because I personally wasn't very happy with my season last year. Like, I feel like that's kind of one of the big reasons why I wanted to retire, because I didn't like Vanguard. I didn't have a good season on Vanguard up to my standards. I mean, I didn't have like a horrible season, but I definitely didn't have like a good season in my eyes. So I was like really contemplating it because of that. And he was like, if you leave, then I leave. And I was like, that struck a chord with me. Like, oh, well, if he still has trust in me like that to be making a decision based off of my decision, then I want to run it back for one more year, try out a new game. Maybe I hated Vanguard and it just wasn't my game, you know, because Cold War the year before that, I had a really good year.
However, Shotzzy then got on the phone and said, hey, Scump, if you retire, I'm going to probably go to FaZe. Now, I can just presume FaZe because we believe he had an offer to FaZe and that was a consideration. And look, probably Shotzzy thought, and I thought a nice word from Scump, that he was like, damn, if Shotzzy thinks I'm really the guy still that he wants to be with and is number one candidate to be an SMG duo with, then I guess I better consider that, right? And therefore come back for another season, because Shotzzy was probably thinking, you know, if Scump goes, who can we get? Maybe Hydra? He probably wasn't sold on that and probably thought, you know what, screw this, I'm going to go, because he was an unrestricted free agent. Shotzzy could have left and gone wherever. Hex would have had no say. He could have gone to FaZe with aBeZy and Simp maybe to the Flex or something, and that would have been Shotzzy's preferred option if Scump was to have retired. So this really raises some questions, because Shotzzy clearly was not so happy with the Dashy and iLLeY situation of last season, and we know that Shotzzy's not afraid to drop teammates if he thinks that they can improve. Like, he's been pretty ruthless in his career so far, despite being a relatively young player. player. And that raises the question to me, Dashy and iLLeY got dropped, of course, but Scump, when he went away to Hawaii, was convinced that he was going to be calling it a day and retiring, then he changed his mind. So while he was away, obviously discussions were happening back home between, you know, Rambo, Shotzzy, Dashy, iLLeY as to what they were going to do. And if Scump was going to retire, would he have had the say on dropping Dashy and iLLeY? Like, it's just an interesting question that we don't really know. I think it raises more questions even than it answers this. Just because if Scump was retiring, then, like, he's not exactly going to say, oh yeah, you know, drop Dashy, drop iLLeY, like, you know, we don't want those guys on the team, because you know, he's not even playing anymore, so why would he necessarily care so much? It would be more likely that Shotzzy from back home in Texas or whatever, he would have been making the calls as to what was happening there. And maybe by the time Shotzzy talked to Scump and got Scump back on board to play, then that's when they had the discussion. And when Scump did finally arrive back and they were going to drop Dashy and iLLeY, Scump then said, you know what, like, let's reconcile and run it back for next season. We're making a bad mistake by letting Dashy and iLLeY go. But, you know, who knows what happens over time, because Scump's retiring after this year, and it seems to me more likely, based on this kind of revelation, that Shotzzy was quite keen to get rid of Dashy and iLLeY, or at least one of the two, who knows. Therefore, after this season concludes, when Scump does officially retire, Shotzzy is now under contract for, you'd imagine, at least a couple of seasons, so he's not going to be able to just leave for FaZe again the way he, and like, obviously OpTic aren't going to let Scump and Shotzzy go in the same season, and Shotzi's got to be that next generation guy. And maybe even Hicks had a word to Scump and was like, hey, look, if Shotzi's going to leave us, if you don't play again, please give me one more year, and then we can ensure we can build around Shotzzy for the future. And that's probably what would have, and as probably has worked out better for OpTic in the long term. But yeah, it just means to me that Shotzzy is basically the man in charge now of this team. And next season, if he's not happy in this upcoming off-season with how Dashy has performed, iLLeY's performed, whatever, then, you know, expect changes to be made, and Shotzzy is going to be the guy that they build around, because, yeah, Scump is still in control of this team for now, but after he retires, Shotzi's the key guy. And of course, they're in person now at the venue. Here's Shotzzy with Scump in the background on the couch, and even we get it here from Scump, the beginning of the end tomorrow, gonna go out there and give him my all. So pretty crazy to think about, but yeah, Scump, beginning of the ends, his first major event of the season. He's got 6 chances if they qualify for the World Championship to win one before the season is out. That's what he said elsewhere in the video as well, that he just wants to win one before the season's over. But they have a pretty tricky group, and only 2 teams get out of the groups. Now, this is pretty crazy and pretty cool, actually, I think, from the CDL side. They are finally running it back with 4 different broadcasts. So Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. If you just go to twitch.tv/Call of Duty, there's the command center with 4 streams running. So this is like really bringing me back in the day. But there are going to be 4 matches simultaneously going on at 1:30 p.m. Eastern and then 3 p.m. Eastern as well. So it starts earlier today than it usually does. So OpTic play Florida on main, LAG New York, Toronto versus the Spanish guys, Minnesota versus Decimate, that is of course Parasite's team, and then these are all the games going on. So these are the groups to mention for you guys. There's a lot happening, of course. There's so many things going on simultaneously. This is Group A. So Decimate slotted in here with Rokkr, Guerrillas, and Subliners. That's Group A. 2 of these teams get through. The final qualifier game, I believe, is maybe tomorrow, not today, but we're going to get 1 team that qualifies through the group and get the elimination round 1 today. Group B is then Toronto versus the Spanish guys, OpTic and Florida in here as well. So a lot of these games happen today, apart from the final qualification match to determine the second team that goes through. Then Boston Elevate is the game 1 here versus Thieves and Legion. That's a really spicy group, actually, because Elevate are not an easy team to beat. That's going to be an interesting series, them up against Boston. And then FaZe versus LAG, one of the other top challenger teams in this group with Ravens and Search. If there's any group that I feel like an upset could be possible here, like LAG in this group is very interesting, their academy roster. I also feel like Elevate in this group might be able to do something, but yeah, who knows, right? So yeah, hopefully the academy teams or the challenger teams put up a good fight and at least get themselves into the qualifier rounds here. And hopefully we'll make for an even more exciting weekend than it already is. So much action today. We're going to leave it there, but the matches start very soon indeed after this video is going to go live, like 5.5 hours after the video goes live. Everything is kicking off. And yeah, then tonight I'll do another video recapping everything, because this event does feel like the most kind of old school Call of Duty event in a very long period of time, when there's, what, 4 matches going on simultaneously? Crazy stuff. Hopefully the CDL can do more of this going forward as well. But very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.